Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a secret prince? Imagine that you spent your whole life being very quiet and staying out of the way. You go to school, you play with your friends, and you don't stand on big balconies very often. Then suddenly, on your 18th birthday, you are given the keys to a giant, secret estate that almost no one in the world even knows about. This place isn't just a house. It is a treasure chest full of history, secret tunnels, and old books that tell the secrets of kings and queens. This is the amazing story of Prince James. For a long time, he was just a quiet boy in the background of the royal family. But now, everything is changing. A secret plan has been put into motion. While the world was looking at other famous royals, James was being trained for something very big. He was given a special gift called Thornfield Estate, and the way he got it tells us a lot about who is really in charge at the palace. It involves a secret meeting, a hidden letter from his grandmother, and a very tough aunt who taught him how to be a leader. Today, we are going to look behind the heavy palace doors to find out why Prince James is suddenly so important and what this means for the future of the crown. It is a story about growing up, keeping secrets, and finding out that being a prince is about much more than just wearing a fancy hat. Get ready, because we are going to uncover the mystery of the quiet prince and his secret inheritance. James is a young man who just turned 18 years old in December of 2025. For most of his life, he did not seek out a lot of attention. He stayed away from the cameras and the loud news stories. He was a quiet teenager who just finished his school lessons. James is the son of Prince Edward, who is the Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Edward is the youngest brother of King Charles. James's mother is Sophie, who is the Duchess of Edinburgh. They are a very hard-working part of the royal family, but they usually do their work without making a lot of noise. Recently, James has started to take on a bigger role. Something very big happened that caused a lot of talking among the people who work at the palace. It was announced that young Prince James has been given a very special place called the Thornfield Estate. This estate was a very private and special place that belonged to the late Queen Elizabeth. It was one of her favorite secret legacies. People were very surprised that it went to James. Reports say that Prince William was very involved in this decision. He made a strong choice to help James get this land. This has made many people think that the power inside the palace is shifting. One very interesting thing is that Queen Camilla was not part of this plan at all. People are whispering that she was left out on purpose. Some think there might be tension or a little bit of a fight happening behind the scenes. People are asking if this was just a normal thing that happens when someone grows up, or if it was a smart move to change who is most important in the royal family. On the morning of February 22nd, 2026, something very strange happened inside Buckingham Palace. Usually when something big happens, there are huge crowds of people standing outside the big metal gates. There are usually flags flying high in the air and a lot of fancy ceremonies. But on this morning, there was nothing like that. There were no crowds, no flags, and no famous royals waving from the balcony. Instead, the palace put out a very short and simple message. It was written in a way that was very formal and serious. If you were just a regular person looking at it, you might think it was not a big deal. But for the people who know how the royal family works, this was a very loud message. At exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, a special rule was written into the royal records. It said that Prince James, who is also called the Earl of Wessex, was now the only person in charge of the Thornfield estate. The message said that he had sole stewardship and full custodianship. This means he is the boss of the land and everything on it. This decision was approved by the most important people and was shared through the Privy Council. The Privy Council is a very old group of people who help make the most secret and sensitive decisions for the monarchy. This was not a normal gift. It was not just a fancy gesture to make James feel good. It was a real transfer of power. It showed that the family trusts James with something very private and very important. The fact that they did it so quietly makes it even more interesting. The way the news was shared was very unusual. There was no big meeting with reporters to talk about why they did it. No one from the palace stood up to give a speech or explain the reasons for the choice. There was no special packet of information given to the royal reporters who usually write about the family. Instead, the news just appeared in the official records like a boring piece of mail. It was as if the palace wanted to treat it like a simple update that happens every day. But in the world of the royal family, nothing is ever just a simple update. Everything they do has a reason. When they choose to be silent, it usually means they are sending a very strong signal. In a time when many people think the royal family does too many fancy shows and big ceremonies, this quiet move felt very different. It was calm and very controlled. It was as if they were saying that they don't need a parade to show who is important. They chose to be simple on purpose. There were no pictures and no big, exciting words. There was only a quiet statement that carried a lot of weight. This showed that the family was not trying to put on a show for the public. They were positioning themselves for the future. They were making sure the right people were in the right places. The Thornfield Estate itself is a very special place that has always stayed in the shadows. It is not a place where tourists go to take pictures. You won't see it on the front of a magazine very often. It is a place that has always been about privacy and thinking. It is tucked away in the countryside where there are no flashing cameras or people waiting to see a prince. For a long time, it has been a place where the family goes to think about important things without any pressure from the outside world. Because this estate is so private, giving it to Prince James is a very big deal. It shows that the King and Prince William have a lot of confidence in him. It means they trust him with a place that is very sensitive and important to the history of the family. It also shows that they want things to stay the same in the future. They want the purpose of the estate to continue with a new generation. By putting James in charge, they are making a plan for the long term. They are choosing someone who knows how to be quiet and how to do a good job without needing people to clap for him. Many people who watch the royal family were surprised that James was chosen. James is known for being a very quiet person who doesn't spend much time in the spotlight. He doesn't go to as many parties or big events as some of the other royals. He usually stays in the background, but that might be exactly why he was picked. In the history of kings and queens, the people who work quietly are often the ones who get the most done. This new rule seems to put James in a role where he needs to be very careful and very private. It values the work he does more than how famous he is. It was also very interesting to see who was not mentioned in the announcement. The message didn't say that anyone else would be helping James. It didn't say that there would be a review later to see how he was doing. The words sole stewardship and full custodianship are very strong. They are legal words that mean he is the final boss. When the palace uses words like that, it means the decision is finished and will not be changed. The timing of the message was also very smart. They put it out early in the morning before most people were even awake. This allowed the news to get out without a giant argument starting right away. It was a message meant for the people inside the palace first and the people outside second. For many people, the silence around the news was even louder than a trumpet. It showed that this was a serious move that didn't need to be debated or celebrated. It just needed to be accepted as the new way things are. So what is so special about the Thornfield Estate? Why is everyone talking about it? To most people, Thornfield is just a name they have never heard of. It isn't on any maps for tourists. No big groups of people wait at the gate to see who is inside. But inside the royal world, Thornfield has always been very important. It is a secret and strategic place. It is located in the beautiful countryside of West Berkshire. The estate is huge, covering thousands of acres of land. There are very old woods that look like silent guards along the edges of the property. There are green hills that rise up in the distance and rivers that flow through the land. There are no signs for people to follow and no places for cars to stop and take photos. If you saw it from a plane, it might look like a very peaceful and normal farm. But on the ground, you can feel that it is a very special place. It feels like time has stopped there. It is very beautiful, but its real value is not just about how it looks. It is valuable because of what is hidden inside. The estate was started a long time ago in the Georgian era. It wasn't built to show off to other people. It was built for a specific purpose. When the crown got the land back, it became a place for the family to do work without anyone watching. Over the hundreds of years that the family has owned it, Thornfield has been a quiet partner to history. During times of war, it was a secret place for people to talk and share messages so that the enemy would not know. In times of peace, the land was used to try out new ways of farming. They wanted to make sure there would be enough food for the royal lands. At other times, it was a place where young princes and princesses were sent to learn how to be disciplined. They were taught how to be responsible and how to serve their country. They did this far away from the cameras and the people who would cheer for them. Unlike big palaces that were built to make people go, wow, Thornfield was built to help people get ready for their jobs. In the middle of the estate is Thornfield Manor. It is a very handsome house that fits perfectly into the trees and the hills. It doesn't look like it is trying to be the most important house in the world. The rooms inside are not super fancy, but they are very serious. Inside the house is one of the last private royal libraries in the country. It is a collection of books and papers that the public is not allowed to see. The shelves are full of old journals that were written by hand, secret letters, and papers about how to lead a country. There are also personal thoughts from people who ruled long ago or people who had to stay quiet because of their duty. But there is even more to Thornfield than just the house and the library. Hidden under the beautiful gardens is another secret part of the story. There are tunnels made of stone and metal that were built a long time ago. During a time called the Cold War, these tunnels were made even stronger. According to secret records, these underground rooms can work all by themselves if they have to. They have everything people would need to live and work for many weeks if the world became dangerous. These spaces were never meant for people to come and look at. They were meant to make sure the government could keep going no matter what happened. In a world where everyone can see where you are using a phone or a computer, the best thing about Thornfield is that it is invisible. The estate stays out of the news and away from the things that are popular on the internet. It gives people in power a place to think, to learn, and to get ready for the future without everyone watching them. For a long time, the secret of Thornfield was kept by the trees, the gates, and the people who knew how to stay quiet. Its importance was passed down from one person to another without any big announcements. Now that big responsibility has been given to Prince James. Being the steward of Thornfield is about much more than just owning land. It is about a special purpose. Thornfield is not a prize or a trophy. It is a job. By taking care of it, James is promising to continue a tradition of quiet service and hard work. While most people are looking at the famous royals on the big stages, Thornfield is where the family thinks about what will happen next. By giving it to James, the message is very clear. The future of the royal family might depend on the things that are kept secret and protected away from the public eye. Why was Prince James picked to get such a big estate? Out of all the people in the royal family, why was he the one who earned it? It turns out that picking James was not a random choice at all. For many years, James has stayed on the very edge of the spotlight. You hardly ever saw his picture in the paper, and he almost never said anything to the news. He was a quiet boy in a family where almost everyone else is very famous. To the people on the outside, he seemed almost like he wasn't there. But inside the palace, he was being prepared for this day. He was learning, he was being mentored, and he was taking a slow and careful path toward being a leader. From the time he was a young teenager, James was being helped by Princess Anne. Princess Anne is the king's sister, and she is famous for being very tough and very disciplined. She doesn't like to put on a show, she just likes to get her work done. While the public saw her going to fancy events, she was also secretly helping James. She was teaching him how to manage the Thornfield estate. She had been in charge of the estate for over 20 years, and she made sure everything ran perfectly. She taught James that being a royal is about real work, not just wearing a crown and waving. Princess Anne showed James how to be a good steward. She taught him that you have to be patient and you have to pay attention to every little detail. She showed him how to take care of the land, the forests, and the fields. James spent a lot of time at Thornfield, learning about the practical side of the estate. He learned how to keep the land healthy so it would still be good for his children and grandchildren. He also learned how to talk to the people who live and work on the land. He practiced being a good leader by listening to them and helping them with their problems. Most importantly, he learned how to fix things before they became big problems. He learned about the machines and the systems that keep a giant estate running. During all those years of learning, the news was not allowed to follow him. There were no photographers hiding in the bushes and no big stories about what he was doing. He was allowed to learn in private, which helped him focus on his work instead of worrying about what people thought of him. The people inside the palace say that this was done on purpose. They wanted to make sure he learned how to be a good leader first before he became famous. By the time the estate was given to James, everyone in the family knew he was ready. When King Charles signed the papers, it was more than just a ceremony. It was a way of saying that the whole institution has confidence in James. They know he has been trained well and that he will do a good job. People say this was not just about him being part of the family. It was a smart plan. One person who has seen many young royals grow up said that this isn't about having a title. It is about training someone to carry a heavy weight without dropping it. This means James has been prepared to do a very hard job with a steady hand. He is no longer just a quiet prince. He is a man who can lead a complex estate and take care of the people on it. He is ready for whatever comes next. Is there anything else special about Prince James's early life? If we look back at his christening, we can see a very cool connection to history. In the spring of 2008, there was a quiet ceremony at Windsor Castle for baby James. He is the youngest grandson of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. The ceremony was very small and private, but it was also very important for the history of the family. One of the most amazing things was what James wore. He was the very first royal baby to wear a special copy of a very old christening dress. The original dress was made in the year 1840. It was first worn by Queen Victoria's oldest daughter. The original dress is so old and so delicate that they have to keep it in a very safe place so it doesn't fall apart. Because the old dress is so fragile, they made a perfect copy for James and the other royal babies to wear. By wearing this dress, James was joining a long line of royal babies that goes back almost 200 years. Since his christening, almost all the other royal babies have worn the same copy of the dress. This shows how much the family values tradition. James also holds a very interesting spot in the family tree. He is the youngest of the Queen's 8 grandchildren. He is much younger than some of his cousins. For example, he is 30 years younger than his oldest cousin, Peter Phillips. This means James is at a very interesting spot, where he is part of a new generation, but still connected to the older ones. Being the youngest grandchild means James is closely connected to all the famous people in the royal family. He is first cousins with Prince William and Prince Harry. He is also cousins with Princess Beatrice, Princess Eugenie, and Zara Tyndall. These relationships mean James is part of a very famous and important family network. It shapes who he is as a prince and what he might do in the future. His christening was a small way to celebrate that the family is always continuing, even as things change. It showed how they can keep old traditions alive while also doing things in a modern way. The ceremony was a reminder that the royal rituals are not just old things from the past. They are living things that help the next generation get ready for their jobs. While the fancy dresses and the big chapels are what people see, the ceremony was really about a family growing and a new legacy being started. As the youngest member of this famous family, James carries a lot of tradition on his shoulders. The public is very curious about him, and his journey is just beginning. His life is a mix of history and modern times. It all started with a ceremony that was very personal and very symbolic. It was a blend of family, faith, and history that will follow him for the rest of his life as he moves into the future. When and how was the Thornfield Estate given to Prince James? Was it a big party or was it something quiet? It turns out that the real transfer happened in a very secret way. It didn't happen in an office with a lot of people watching. It happened on a cold and dark night in February. Under a very black sky, a small group of cars drove quietly away from Windsor Castle. They took back roads that no one else uses so that they would not be seen. They drove until they reached the gates of the Thornfield Estate. The old walls of the estate seemed to be waiting for them. Inside the land is a place called the Chapel of the Oak. It is a very old building that is not on any modern maps. Most people have forgotten that it even exists, but it is full of history and memories. This is where the secret ceremony took place. There were no cameras allowed and no official notes were taken. Only a few people were invited to be there. Everything was kept very quiet and hidden from the rest of the world. In the middle of the chapel, James was given a letter that had been sealed for many years. It was written by his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. No one knows what the letter said except for James. People who were there said he opened the paper very carefully. He read it very slowly as if he wanted to remember every single word. When he was done, he folded it back up perfectly. He looked up and said one simple word, "Understood." That word was very powerful. It showed that he knew exactly what he was supposed to do and that he was ready for the responsibility. The ceremony used symbols that were not about being a powerful king. They were about being a responsible leader. There was a special sword that stayed in its case. It was a symbol that James needs to be watchful and careful. There was also a small bowl of dirt from the estate. It was a reminder that James doesn't just own the land. He has to protect it and honor it. When James knelt down to receive these things, he looked very serious. He wasn't just getting a title, he was making a promise. Then he said his vow. It was not a long or fancy speech. It was short and direct. He said, "I serve, not replace." This meant he was there to do his duty, not to try and be more important than anyone else. It showed that he understands that his job is to take care of what came before him. In that quiet chapel, away from all the people in the world, Prince James became more than just a prince. He became a guardian. He became the person who takes care of the memories and the traditions of the family. He promised to honor all the people who lived there before him. Outside, the rest of the world had no idea that anything was happening. The gates closed behind the cars as quietly as they had opened. The cold wind blew through the trees, and there were no cheers or celebrations. But inside James, a big change had happened. The estate was now in his hands. He didn't get it because of a legal paper. He got it because he understood the purpose of the land. He learned that real power is not about owning things. It is about being dedicated and humble. It is about doing what is right for the family and the country. In the years to come, people will talk about the big estate and its history, but almost no one will know about the secret night when it really changed hands. They won't know about the night when James promised to serve his family in silence. How did the public feel about James getting the estate? And how did this move affect all the talking and tension around the royal family? The transfer of Thornfield was not an accident. The timing was very careful. It happened at a time when people were starting to get tired of all the drama in the royal family. Many people were bored with hearing the same stories and seeing the same people on the news. They wanted to see something real and something meaningful. The news stories are often just full of gossip and things that are not true. Everything the family does is watched very closely, and it can be very tiring for everyone. Because of this, the decision to give James the estate quietly was very smart. There was no big announcement for people to argue about. There were no names being shouted in the papers. But the purpose of the move was very clear to the people who were paying attention. The royal family was showing that they value hard work and responsibility more than being famous on TV. They were making a move for the future, not just for the moment. It was a reminder that true leadership often happens when it is quiet and away from the noise of the news. Thornfield is an estate that people have whispered about for a long time. People used to think it might be used for big royal shows or for everyone to share. But that time is over. The decision is now final. The estate is sealed and belongs to James. The silence around the choice said more than a giant speech ever could. For Prince Harry and other royals, they stayed quiet in public. But the people on the inside knew what this move meant. It wasn't done because people were angry or mean. It was done to protect the future of the crown. By putting James in charge, the family was choosing someone who knows how to be private and how to do his duty. It showed what their priorities are. They care about continuity and responsibility more than anything else. At the middle of this plan were Prince James and Lady Louise Windsor. James is the steward of the land, and Lady Louise is the guardian of the heritage. Together, they are like a new team for the family. They aren't worried about how many followers they have on social media. They are worried about service and commitment. They are taking a huge trust that has been passed down from the older generation. There are no interviews or public statements. There are only quiet moves that show they are ready to do their jobs. By the time the sun came up over the fields of Thornfield, the message was very clear to anyone who knows the language of the royals. The family is no longer just reacting to what the news says. They are making their own path. They are looking forward to a future that is stable and strong. They are choosing a path that is based on old values instead of new fame. And at the middle of this path is a young man who never tried to be the star of the show. Prince James has always been patient and good at watching what is happening. Now he has a huge job in his hands. He is in charge of a place that is full of history and meaning. The estate is not a place for him to perform for people. It is a place for him to work. In the quiet move of Thornfield, James has become the foundation for the future of the family. He is the ground that the stage is built on. His moment has finally arrived, and it didn't need any trumpets or parades. It came with the quiet power of being trusted with something very important. He is not just someone waiting on the side anymore. He is a key part of the plan. The message is simple but very strong. The royal family has picked its way forward. They will be guided by tradition and duty. And at the center of it all is Prince James, who is ready to carry a legacy that will help the family endure for a long, long time. We would love to know what you think about James and his new estate. Do you think this is a good way to get him ready for his royal work? Please tell us what you think in the comments.